All right, let's get to the Canes, of course, coming off a huge weekend and looking forward to another one. What are the highlights based on the social media chatter and what you have been able to bring forth based on your sources from last weekend?
Well, first of all, there were finally 2 commitments. So we started to see more movement. So Kamari Rogers, the #1 cornerback on the board, he committed he's from Mississippi, Holmes County. And then 3-star wide receiver Landon Ibieta, who we talked about last week, he also committed. He's from Louisiana. Both of them are teammates on the Louisiana Bootleggers 7-on-7 team, one of the elite teams in the country, and there are many of them. So I'm not going to go down the list, but among that elite group are the Bootleggers 7-on-7 from Louisiana, and those 2 committed. They actually Landon let it out in his interview with 247 Sports after his commitment that he and Kamari actually committed at the same time. They were on South Beach. The coaches, DeMarcus Van Dyke and Rob Likens, both respectively, because they were actually on the sand. Both of those gentlemen actually jumped into the ocean to celebrate those commitments. It was let out. But Kamari went public with his first on Saturday night, and then Landon went public with his on Sunday, but they actually happened like at the same exact time on the visit. So, yeah, awesome. Awesome. So you're starting to see the foundation of a class being built. You had your quarterback already in Ja'Cory Brown. You already had a wide receiver in Quan Lee. And then you had, another wide receiver in Ibieta, who, again, 3 stars, fine, 6 foot, 180 pounds. Go put on the film, bro. Honestly, if I didn't tell you anything about him, and you click the film, you'd be like, oh, that's a 4 or 5 star. Like, he's always open. He's running away from guys, making guys miss, making plays in, special teams, offense, inside, outside, just all over the place. Again, I put in there in his Welcome to the U piece that I wrote, the video from him at LSU, lighting on fire a 5-star defensive back. And you literally hear people standing next to the guy videotaping like, who is that? You know what I mean? Because he's making those kind of plays. So that's a guy who's coming down here and landing the beta. And then Kamari Rogers, he's just everything you want in a cornerback, 5'11", 6 feet tall, dynamic ball skills. Mr. HD, you did tell us that Kamari Rogers was committing. We did get that Father's Day present from my boy JP. Shout out to JP because he watched the show afterwards. I was like, hey, I appreciate that mention. Hey, man. So not only the one that you got before Father's Day on Kamari Rogers on Saturday, but also Landon Ibieta. So, yeah, you got 4 guys in the class now, and you kind of start to see how things are trending to build. Miami's looking for a top tier kind of class. So we're going big game hunting. We're going after the top tier kind of talent that's out there. And then leaving time to circle back on the plan B, plan C options if it needs to go there. With a lot of people visiting now, finally with outside being open in the month of June, seeing a lot of movement on that, seeing all these different kind of things, and then hopefully there's a lot of commitment dates in July at the beginning. I'm going to get to those things in a second. So a lot of commitment dates in July. So we're going to start to see, okay, where the board goes and settles in July, and then that'll inform the forward path. Again, working on the foundation of 18 to 20, let's call it, high school commitments in this class, counting a couple guys forward from previous, and then leaving room for some transfers through the transfer portal. So that's the number I'm looking at. But when you have that, that's pretty good. So yeah, starting to see that movement going towards that July 4th weekend, like I said previously before June, but even through that next week, there's a lot of commitments that are on July 3rd, July 4th, July 7th, July 8th, July 10th, July 11th, July 14th off the top of my head that I've seen for guys that mine is connected to. So seeing that moving forward. After the weekend was already set, Damari and Ja'Cory Henderson, they're twins. I've mixed the names together for the first one, my bad. But from Sanford Seminole High School, that's Ray Ray Armstrong went there. That's Andre Dubose was on that same team. Dyron Dye, I think, who also went to Miami, was on that same team from Sanford Seminole. So the Henderson twins, Ja'Cory and Damari, there we go, I got it right, are, 3-star, 4-star defensive backs, both in the 6'1", 170 range. I always get this one mixed up. So yeah, they're like 3 stars right now. Ja'Cory plays corner. Damari plays safety. But both of them are really, really athletic, long-limbed, and everything like that. So they actually took visits starting on Monday to Miami, official visits, the two of them. So, this is still continuing to expand the defensive backboard as guys are coming and visiting and getting, the twins down here for that. Nick Cull from Donaldsonville, Georgia, Seminole County. He's a guy who's trending very strongly towards Miami. I think there's been 2 or 3 or 4 crystal ball predictions for him. And this is a guy, again, at 5'11", 6 feet tall, long limbs. He can play corner. He can play safety. Depends on, or striker even. Depends on where you're looking at him. But I think Miami really made a move there. Wesley DeSaint has been and remains the number 1 target at linebacker, so we're still going after him. Anthony Lucas is a potential 5-star defensive tackle from Scottsdale Chaparral, whose father actually attended Miami as a non-athlete, as a student like myself. And he is Haitian by descent. So obviously down here in Miami, in South Florida, there's a heavy Haitian population, including some people on staff. Ishmael Aristide, Ed Potta, Brian Potta, who unfortunately was murdered, and they're still looking for his killers years ago. His brother is on staff and everything. He's of Haitian descent, and there's other people around the athletic department as well. And that's been a thing that really has been a connection. And obviously, it's his father's alma mater. Not necessarily saying that locks it up or anything, but Miami's in a strong position to make a move with him. So follow that logic. In a position to make a move. We have not made the move, but we've opened his eyes to potentially make a move moving forward with Anthony Lucas, who's everybody's All-American at defensive line. He says defensive end, but when you're 6'4.5", 280 already in high school, you're 2 cheeseburgers away from 300, buddy. You know what I mean? Like, I get that, defensive end is fun, and that's what you do now. Kick inside. You can even be 290 and maintain that athleticism and be a monster. So I would appreciate that. But, hey, in the same way that James Williams says that he's a safety and nothing else, Mr. Lucas says he's a defensive end and nothing else, and I will not begrudge him on that point. Get on my roster, and we will figure it out. You know what I mean? If we had to do any extra cardio or, extra protein in the mess hall or the not the mess hall. Geez, we're not the Army, but in the cafeteria after practice with the nutritionists and everything. Andrew Chamblee is committed to Arkansas, but Miami opened his eyes and his mother apparently to making her comfortable with potentially Miami being the fit. He's going to announce his final commitment further in the summer. That's one of the July commitments, I believe. But like I said, he's committed. He's from Arkansas and committed to Arkansas. But Miami, the visit actually did them well. Not saying that he's going to end up here, but we will see. R.J. Maryland, Russell Maryland Jr., the son of the legendary Miami Hurricane, came as a visitor last weekend. He was a last-second addition, a tight end at 6'4", so like 6'2.5", 6'3", from South Lake Carroll in Texas. So one of the storybook programs out there and everything. We'll see how we go with that. There were some people saying that no Miami legacies come to Miami. And I'm like, Al Blaze Jr. literally has his father's name and is on the roster. You know what I mean? Like the same name as his father is on the roster. Like you're talking about other guys that have been here. You had Ray Lewis III, again, had his father's name. Alonzo Highsmith, AJ Highsmith has his father's name. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you miss me with we don't get any legacies, but that was obviously something worth noting. From the past, we had those 2 commitments, and then those guys, and then really just setting up what's going to move forward with this weekend with the visits and also with Paradise Camp, because the calendar's changed, the recruiting calendar. So normally Paradise is a late July thing before the season closes down the calendar. They go back to the quiet period and dead period. But with only a month live period going back to a quiet period on the 28th, I want to say on Monday upcoming, there's a lot of camps that are going on, had to be moved up into June, including Paradise Camp. It's going to be a little bit different. We can talk about that a little bit later, but yeah. Going to the couple comments, Omar Graham Jr., who committed to Florida State. He's one of the ones who decided to go elsewhere. With all due respect, was not a take for Miami at this point with what we're looking at and who we have on the board for linebacker. So we did bring him in for a visit and everything. Do I believe that he can play at the Power 5 level? Absolutely, 100%. But what we're looking at, we like more. So, vaya con Dios. We wish you all the best. but he was not a take at Miami right now. So Florida State, or buddy, do with that what you will. It is also interesting, Marvin Jones Jr. on his official visit to Florida State, son of Marvin Jones, who played at Florida State, who's from Miami, by the way, look it up, was pictured throwing the infamous "you down" hand sign and everything. And then I saw people just jumping on him about that, including a good friend, Andrew Farrelly, who's just like, oh, cool. So you're going to go there and never beat Miami, just like your father never beat Miami. And I saw people were like, no, that's not true. 1990 to 1992. Go look it up. He and Deion Sanders both never beat the Hurricanes. So if that's what you want to do, bro, that's what you want to do. But Marvin Jones Jr. is one of the million elite defensive ends, edge rushers down here in South Florida this cycle. Just so you know that and everything. And next cycle, in case you're wondering, okay, this year is all about the defensive lineman. What about next year? Wide receiver. So that also circles back to, if people are upset about taking a commitment from Landon Ibieta, if you're saying he cannot play here or whatever, which I disagree with because I believe he can play here, again, go watch the film. If you're upset about that, you should be very excited about the fact of recruiting over him with the litany, any of the litany of amazing wide receivers in 2023. So either you have a great guy who can play here and play up his abilities and develop here in Ibieta, and then you add on other elite talents, or you have a guy that you're starting to get a foothold a little bit in Louisiana. You bring him over, and he's not to the level, and then you recruit other guys over him. Either way, I think it's a good situation for Miami.
There is so much I want to take from what you just stated there, just bits and pieces here and there that struck me in different ways. One being that we all know of positions in sports where there are players who would like to fashion themselves as another position in that sport, like the second baseman who wants to show off that they have the arm to play shortstop, for example, or the center that wants to show that they can shoot a little bit from the outside and step out there, especially in more traditional basketball setups with the 5 positions and so forth and so on. I never really thought of that, though, from the defensive line position, where maybe some of those guys that are better fashioned for the inside want to say, you know what, it's a little sexier to play outside in space. I don't want all those big bodies leaning on me all the time. Let me play out there and be the edge rusher who can rack up some sacks and get some glory. But yeah, that's certainly one that I hadn't considered before. When you mentioned Ibieta, did I pronounce that correctly, the wide receiver?
Landon Ibieta. Ibieta, yeah.
Landon Ibieta. Okay, so I don't want to pigeonhole him with a stereotype, but I'm basing it on the skin color and the size at 5'11", 185, and the skin color. Is this a Hunter Renfrow type player? Of course, a very poor man's Hunter Renfrow at this standpoint, but that type of wide receiver.
I mean, he's 6 foot, 6'1"-ish, so a little bit physically bigger, and also in that 180 range, so a little bit more muscular. But, I mean, he can play inside. He can play outside. He's jumping over dudes in his highlight film. You know, he's playing on special teams and everything. But, I mean, the fact of it is he's a white kid from Louisiana. So that is going to be a barrier that some people are going to have to get over, you know, for whatever reason. I don't think that that's fair to the kid, to be perfectly honest. But it is a thing, you know, and I've seen all of the comparisons. Oh, he's a game rat. He's a Hunter Renfrow. He's a Wes Welker. He's a Julian Edelman. And I mean, just any litany of successful, talented white slot receiver. They're just saying he's that. But you know what? If he plays to that level, fine. You know what I mean? We can call him Roscoe Parrish. We can call him Daryl Jones. We can call him well, no, not Travis Benjamin, because Travis Benjamin was a different kind of fast. But, you know, we can say any of the, you know, slot receivers that Miami's had over the course of, you know, years past. Hey, Mike Harley even. You know what I mean? We just make those comparisons just to everything. But, like, yeah, there is the fact that he's a white wide receiver. So, you know, do with that what you will. But if he continues to do what he's done, and again, go check the Welcome to the U piece I put up on State of the U. Scroll down to near the bottom before the last little thing where I would say welcome, you know, or, you know, welcome to the U player's name or whatever. But before that last thing, I always embed the highlights wherever I find on YouTube or Huddle. Go and watch it and watch what he did. Go look at that video that I put higher up in there of him abusing a 5-star cornerback and people asking, who is this kid? Because I'm expecting this cornerback to lock everything down. So yeah, the other statement with that, or the unsaid part of things is, I did not expect this defensive back to lose any reps at all. I definitely did not expect him to lose this rep to this kid. And I did not expect him to lose this rep with this other kid doing what he did and running the route the way he did to go over and make all this happen. So who is this? The answer is Landon Ibieta. Go and look it up. So whatever your feeling is on it, I'm fine with that take. And again, whether it fits right now or it's a fit for right now, while we're going to process some guys off the roster, because all the wide receivers are not coming back next year. I'm just spoiler alert anyway. And I'm not just talking about graduation. And then we have this amazing, incredible crop of South Florida wide receivers next year, which is more you can shake a stick at. Either way, it's good.